Hello and welcome to Running Instinct. My name is Maxim and today we're out in the field taking a video. The purpose of this video is going to be to look over the technique of running. So running technique, I'm going to go from head to toe, what's supposed to look like, and just running form in general. Alright, so let's get started. So first, with your head. When you're running, you want to keep your head as still as possible, so you don't want to bounce around. So if you're bouncing around like this, doing it wrong, you want to keep it nice and flat. So I'll show a video in a sec about this. And then for the next thing, on your head, I guess, is your breathing. So there's a couple breathing strategies that you can use. The main one I use is 2 breaths in, 2 breaths out. So that matches your stride. There's also ones that can work differently for you. Maybe it's like 1 breath in, 1 breath out, like. All right, so the main point is that you want to have a breathing pattern that works for you and it's consistent. Because if you're breathing wrong, or if you're laughing during your run, you might get a cramp or something. So as long as this breathing pattern works for you, that's the breathing pattern you should use. But it shouldn't be something that gets you lightheaded or you're passing out there because you're not getting enough oxygen. With the head, now we're moving on to the shoulders and arms. So with your shoulders, you want to keep your shoulders in line. You don't really want to rotate as much. This isn't swimming where you want to rotate. This is running. You kind of want to maybe rotate a little bit, not too much. And with the arms, you don't want to cross over. So keep it in line. Maybe I know some things that help practice this, or maybe holding something like a red ball or a yellow ball, something that you can see in your hand. So when you're looking forward, you're not looking down at your hands. When you're running normally, you can see if the yellow ball or red ball, you can easily see if it crosses, then you're doing it wrong. And if it's right around here, lined up with your shoulder, then you're doing it right. And the position of your arms should be comfortable. So with your arms, you don't want to pull them too far up, unless you're running up a hill. If you're running up a hill, you want to swing your arms up more. But if you're running normally, you want to make sure that your arm is coming back to your hip, back to your pocket, and up basically to your chest or shoulder line. You don't want to tense up your arms too much. You're not running with your arms, you're running with your legs, right? So with that, nice and smooth, in line with your stride. So we did the head and shoulders and arms and all that. Next up is torso. So you might have seen, you might notice that you're doing a lot of core work, or you should be doing some core work when you're running. And it's important because when you're running, you should be able to pull in your abs and be able to lean in, control it. Because if you're running like this, or all relaxed in your stomach or whatever, then that's not very good form. You want to make sure you're kind of leaning in, your stomach is a little bit tucked in. You don't want to squeeze your abs, but they do want to be engaged when you're running. That is what helps that lean forward and helps you fall during your run. So now that you know that you need to lean forward and fall into your run, now we're going to move on to legs. So if you take a look at my legs here, what you want to do with your legs is you want to kick back far enough. The kick back is very important because if you look at all the professional runners, they all have this massive kick back, then it comes in, and it's all really tight up in here. I can't really do that right now, I'm sore, but it's really tight up in here, and they come back and land right under their body. So it's not in front, because then you'd be heel striking. And heel striking can work, but usually it's better to mid-foot strike, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. But the main motion is a cycle motion. It's a circle motion of you kicking back, the leg coming forward, drive with the knee, and then land right under your body. And if you're leaning forward, then that means that you're just falling and catching yourself right under your body. And it turns out that running comes into this cyclic motion, like you're rolling down. I mean, sometimes you want to practice and emphasize kind of the rolling motion with your arms and legs, but mostly it's just smooth. So if you really notice it, if you're really observant on that part, then you'll see it, but yeah, mostly it's just a cyclic motion. Now, onto the midfoot strike. Where you want to land is not on the heel and not on the toe, but right in that sweet spot of the midfoot. So the midfoot is going to be it's going to be this part right here. So it might be a little bit up, might be a little bit up, a little bit down, but mostly it's right here. You want to treat your foot as a spring. So if you were hopping on your legs, you wouldn't land on your toes and you wouldn't land on your heels. You would land on your midfoot to absorb all that energy that you're making when you're jumping up and down. So that's the same thing when you're running. You're basically jumping up and down. You're converting that energy of you falling forward into that propulsion forward.